Sorry. First off, again, I want to thank everybody who has taken the time to come here and to watch this and to pay tribute to Jason David Frank. I know he would love each and every one of you, and I love each and every one of you guys for coming out. So I want to go ahead and take this time to ask Mr. Gotto and Mr. Palmer to step up here for us. And just a little bit of context about that documentary and some of the people who submitted the videos. We had allowed fans and audience members to submit videos of their experiences with JDF. And out of those videos, we included those submissions because no greater word could be spoken of the fans themselves. Now, with me, I currently have Mr. Michael Gotto and Mr. Alan Palmer. And these two individuals here, go ahead. And these two individuals have one of the most impactful moments in Power Ranger history, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. What we're going to do is we're actually going to do a questionnaire shortly thereafter, so if you guys want to come up here and ask some questions, which in fact reminds me, let me do this real quick. You guys will migrate up here to the middle row, or the middle aisle, and you'll stand in front of the stage. And feel free to ask the questions that you want. And if these gentlemen here are able to answer, we'll continue on with the show. First off, I want to thank you guys for spending your time out here. It is an honor and a pleasure.
Thanks for having us. Good morning, everyone. Great morning.
So, as I said, you two guys have some of the most controversial roles in Power Rangers history. First things first, Alan Palmer, you are the Black Aqua Toy Ranger, and you are. And you are part of a team that ultimately, if not fundamentally, replaced the original cast for a very short period of time, which meant that us, as a younger audience, knew that our heroes needed help in the biggest moment of time in the Power Rangers franchise. So I want to ask you real quick, how does that feel stepping up to the plate for such a large role?
Well, at the time, I didn't even. It was just starting to air. The series was starting to air, so I didn't really know too much about the series. And to be part of it it was so fun to be part of the whole project, but we never knew what an impact it made until years later, which is incredible. It's mind-blowing to see how you guys affect us and we've affected you. It's a really cool thing, and who knew that this, little project that we did would cause so much positive energy that got put out to the universe. It's incredible. It really is. Yeah. And I can't believe how many wonderful people we've met, the cast members, and every time we go to these cons, it's incredible to meet and hear stories and to just get a little glimpse into each one of your lives and trust it stays with us, and we've got this huge family of people because of this one project. Isn't that crazy?
It is definitely incredible, and as a fan myself, I can say that a lot of the teachings throughout Power Rangers has ultimately shaped the man that I am today, and has taught me many lessons that I would like to have in myself as a father should I have a child in the future. And a lot of the things with JDF, a lot of his teachings resonates what I would have wanted in a father. And so I'm really happy to be a part of this as well, and I'm glad to have you guys here. And so, do you want to make any other closing statements?
Just that film actually is causing this. You kind of sit and watch the film and you don't realize how much of an impact it makes until, anyway. Sorry about the tears.
Tears are all welcome. And Michael Gotto, you also have an incredibly impactful role. You played the younger version of Tommy Oliver. You were the OG young version of JDF for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Thank you.
How has that impact been on your life? Like the influences, and how has your journey been since starting out with Comic-Cons and conventions and realizing all of these people look up to you?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. When I got the part, I also didn't know much about the show. I actually hadn't even seen the show when I got the part. When my dad told me I was going to audition for a show called Power Rangers, I said, oh, why would we be on a Western? He's like, no, it's, and he tried to describe it because of the word ranger, you know? So anyway, getting the part was incredible, and filming with Jason David Frank, all of the Power Rangers, my castmates, the younger Rangers and the Alien Rangers, was just an incredible honor. Honestly, the show's had a huge impact on my life because people will come up and say, hey, you were part of my childhood. And so to be a positive aspect of anyone's life is just an incredible honor. And I ended up going into education. So I was a high school teacher, became a middle school principal, and I'm actually currently in charge of human resources for a school district. And so I've always wanted to impact lives, and I think that journey began on my days on the show. So there were a few other things in that question that I've forgotten.
It's quite all right. I think I kind of forgot the question. This is also kind of a big thing for me. It's the first time being on stage, and to do it in such a big scale is a big deal to me. This also isn't the first time that you and I have spoken before. You did the pilot episode for Big Bad Beautiful when you were very young as well, and those influences are also prominent for your career in your future as well.
I did. That was really cool. So at the end of my 2 seasons on Power Rangers, Saban asked me to play the character Drew on the pilot episode of Beetleborgs, which was really cool. They wanted me to do the show as a series regular, but they came to the conclusion that the kids watching Power Rangers would recognize me on Beetleborgs and say, wait a second, that's the same kid, what the heck? So they decided to go in a different direction. But that was fun to film, and it was a blessing to be a part of that as well.
Now, let me see real quick how much time we have here for this panel. Okay, we still have 20 minutes before we have to make room for the White Dragon panel. So I want to ask real quick, what did you guys first off, who would like to go first? So I'll address the question to them. I'll tell you what, eeny, meeny, miny, moe, I'll pick you. All right, so here we go. So what did you guys take away ultimately from Power Rangers once you wrapped up set and moved on to the future goals that you had? What did you take away from Power Rangers?
Well, what I would have liked to have taken away was my suit. They were planning on continuing the series and actually doing a spin-off with us as well. So we had 2 suits that were made, and I was going to actually ask for one, but they were going to do the series with us. So I thought, oh, I'll get it when we finish that. And it never happened. So they ended up burning our costumes.
Burning?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're destroyed. So not that. But what I did take away from the show was a great group of friends. Raja, who was our leader, Delphine, she has been one of my best friends for years and has done a million projects with me. It's a shame right now she's not feeling well, but we're going to get her healthy and we're going to get her back out into these cons because she's the one that brought me into the cons in the first place. And it's so cool because we're getting more and more of us that we all work together, and so it's lifelong friends and family, and like I said, it's a legacy that just keeps giving. It's crazy, 30 years later. How crazy is that? That you all are still watching and loving and embracing the characters that you grew up with. That's awesome. That's incredible.
And what about you, Mr. Gotto? What did you take away from it?
Just in addition to lifelong friendships, an appreciation for life, an appreciation for being a part of something so positive that has impacted so many lives for 30 years. I take that seriously, and I've realized, wow, I was given that incredible honor to be a part of this family and this legacy forever. And I don't take that lightly. And I just want to say, you know, sometimes will say, well, now you have to carry the mantle. You're the last person who played Tommy Oliver. I want to make it very clear, Jason David Frank can never be replaced.
Amen.
Legacy. And so that's what I want to do.
First off, I want to say those are all fantastic answers. And because we have roughly about 15 minutes, I want to see if anyone here has a particular question. Now is a good time to line up down the middle aisle. If you want to ask any questions at all to these gentlemen, or maybe ask questions about the documentary, we're all here happy to answer. So I'm going to actually recenter this microphone.
Come on
If you want to
down.
head on up, you can. Anybody have any questions at all?
You know it all.
All right.
Yes.
Don't be
Let's
shy.
give him a round of
Don't be shy.
applause. It takes courage for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, real quick before we get into this, I also want to say that this is my close friend, Daniel Dorn, and I also want to thank you for your involvement in this documentary.
Great job.
So, is it on? Hello? Yeah. So this isn't much of an emotional question, but just out of curiosity, if you weren't your current colors, or if you could pick your color for a ranger, or like if you could pick your Zord or animal type, what would it be and why? So what color and what kind of Zord would you have if you didn't have what you have now?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Well, I would definitely be white, and I would take Raj's position, Delphine's position. I think that's what the Japanese series tried to do, right? To try to take the leadership for a little bit of time.
Well, wow, okay. So I played Tommy, young Tommy, when he was the White Ranger, and then I found a Zeo crystal that made him red for the Zeo series. So white and red are out. But it just struck me. I think it would have to be green and the Dragon Zord, because I didn't get to be that character at that time.
Do you have any more questions? All right, next.
What was your favorite thing or favorite part about being a Power Ranger?
Good question.
Oh gosh, I think just embodying everything it means to be a ranger, right? And that is being a hero, loving people, doing what's right, and conquering evil. For me, that's the best part about being a ranger.
Wow, that's very similar to what I would say as well. It's amazing what a positive influence this whole legacy has left people, and that's what I took away from it. How many incredible people that we get to work with every single time we come to these cons, but not to mention getting to see you guys each time. It's a really cool thing. That's a huge thing to take away from something like this. What's your name, by the way?
Bella.
Bella, hi, nice to meet you.
Thanks for your question, Bella.
Pleasure to have you, Bella. How are you doing today, man?
I was wondering, I think, Michael, you said before, I think yesterday after tribute, that you were a principal, and I was wondering, I guess either of you, if, when you had normal jobs, or I guess just when you were not doing cons and stuff, if people ever recognize you, or if parents or kids ever recognized you and was, wait a second, they see you and recognize you as young Tommy.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. As a high school teacher, I would never share who I played as a kid, but they would always Google me. So it didn't take very long for them to say, during my presentation on my amazing syllabus. Were you the White Ranger? I said, okay, let me address this right now. And then when I became a principal, the kids loved it. And so we had fun with it. And I did my first year as a principal, I did a signing for a fundraiser, a PTA fundraiser. And so I've tried to weave in this experience, this huge part of my life, into my current work as an educator.
That's incredible. Yeah, I get that a lot, the Googling thing. Somebody will, and just randomly, it's like, why are you Googling me? That's weird. But the weirdest thing was, I went on a family trip to Rome, Greece, sorry, we were in Greece, Athens. And this gentleman came up out of nowhere and said, were you Quarkus? And I was like, what the heck? It was the craziest thing. It's really cool to see those kind of things. And we do a lot of these conventions with a lot of like huge celebrities, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, all these groups, and we go to dinner sometimes as a group. And we were at a Benihana's, and somebody came out of the kitchen and said, is there a Power Ranger here? I heard there's a Power Ranger. And I'm like, dude, do you know who that is? That's David Hasselhoff. You're asking. And so they took me into the kitchen, and it was everything. I was like, this is crazy. So that's cool. Anyway.
Thank you.
Well, that's interesting. There's only two things in the Power Ranger universe that knows all: Zordon and Google.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, Bella was earlier. What's your name?
What was your name?
What was your name?
Oh, Roxy?
Roxy.
Roxy.
Ooh, the name on everybody's lips.
Thank you for your question.
And how's it going, sir?
My name's Bo. We've met a couple times now.
Yes, we were at the concert, the Comic Con. Who went to the Comic concert on Friday night? That was fun.
So my question was, if given the chance to return in any way, I know you kind of don't really have a way to return as your character in that role, but like if you had a chance to return like to the series or to the universe, how would you like to see that happen?
In a weird way, I wouldn't mind playing JJ. The son of Tommy and Cat.
That could work. I would like to be a villain. I just, there's so much meat in that, do you know what I mean? And it's so opposite of who I am, so I think that would be fun. That'd be cool. Thanks. That's a good question.
Thank you so much, Bo.
Thank you.
I love your stance. You're just like.
Hi, I'm Michael. This is a question for Alan. So, when I was a kid, I didn't get a chance to see the cut-off series of the Alien Ranger. So when I rewatched it, I found that the voices of the Avatar Rangers pretty interesting. So what was it like hearing that voice and wearing that costume?
Well, what's funny about it is we never heard that until it went into ADR. So we thought we were going to have these normal voices and everything, and all of a sudden it's like, what is that? And we mind you, after we shot, we went to the to an ADR studio and did the voice dubbing, because it's not as clear sometimes, so you go in and do that. But we never even heard it then, and it was only until we actually saw it at the same time you saw it that this crazy voice came into his play. That's a good question. Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Sure. So, Meg, right? Hello again. All right, so after we get your question, we're going to do something that nobody has really done, or at least not oftenly done before. We're going to have the celebrities ask the audience some questions. So, when they ask these questions, if anybody wants to come up and answer to those questions, whatever they may be, the floor is 100% yours. Don't be shy. It's all a safe space here, and we love each and every one of you, and we want to hear your input. So, I'm not going to hold you up. Go ahead, Meg.
Okay. So, I'm all about nostalgia. So what is one experience, it can be funny or memorable, any kind of charitable kind of way? What is one experience that triggers in the back of your mind whenever you're just going about your day-to-day life? Like you just think something and you just like laugh. What's your favorite moment?
From the show?
Yes.
Mine, there are two little ones. So the first one is the popsicle scene, because I stupidly decided to put popsicles in every one of my fingers and thought it would be really good and be able to eat them, and then they just kept doing it over and over and over. We did it like 30 takes. And so, yeah, the first it was like so good eating these popsicles. By the end of it, I was just spitting them out in the bucket. So that was one. And then the other one was the day, were you guys there when we shot at the Botanical Gardens? So do you remember everyone took a break because they were they were doing the OJ trial, remember? And they were getting the verdict for the OJ trial. So we were all gathering around the craft service area and watching.
I was next to the sound guy who had his little radio with him, and we listened.
That was so crazy. Wasn't that a crazy night? And I don't know why that stuck with me, but that was a cool one. Yeah.
For me, a couple. So I don't know if you saw the bloopers in some of our episodes, but if I get the giggles, I can't stop. And I had the giggles, actually, it was one of those episodes, I think, around that time. And I was breaking character and laughing, and the director was starting to get impatient with me. He was just like, okay, Michael, pull it together. Like, we need to get this done. And I was busting up. No.
I can never, even during that, yeah, that's the craziest thing.
The other one was on the bus, when Rito and Goldar tried to take over our school bus. I got to devise the plan to throw things at him. I don't know where we got all the stuff, because it just appeared, but anyway, I was having a little too much fun with that. I was throwing things, and I think it was the stunt guy in the Rito costume was like, somebody's throwing things really hard at me. Can we just tone it down a little bit? I was like, I'm sorry, just having fun.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
So I don't know if some of you guys heard this or not, but I heard somebody sneeze very quietly in the audience, so bless you. And calling you out there. And now we're going to go ahead and get into this, excuse me. So like I said, I don't think any questions. Do you guys have any idea what you want to ask, or you want to take some time to think it over?
I guess outside of this universe, is there anyone in here that likes live theater or anything like that? Cool. Well, if anyone's close to New York in the next little bit, I'm opening a show off Broadway July 13th through July 30th. So if you're in New York, look me up.
That's awesome. Do you have a follow-up question to that?
Oh, the name of the show is Chanteuse. And it's a one-man show with 4 musicians. So it's kind of a cool thing.
Remember that, Chanteuse. Should see that?
What's your favorite Broadway show?
Oh, wow. Well, right now, Sweeney Todd, because I just went to see, what's his name? Josh Groban in it. It was really good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I have kind of a multi-part question.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. And we can do show of hands first. So Power Rangers has been on for 30 years, right? How many franchises can say that they have been on that long? How many of you think that the show should continue beyond Cosmic Fury?
Oh, definitely, 100%. Come on, put both hands up.
Yeah.
Let's give that a round of applause.
Okay, so the next, yeah. I agree. The next part to that is, if Cosmic Fury doesn't continue, any creative ideas as to what should be next? Come on up. If you have an answer, come to the mic and just
right
briefly give us your answer. You can line up.
So I would be highly disappointed if they don't follow it up with Once and Always. and continue with something with that. You know? I think that would be amazing. I know it's not the same actors in the suits, but it would be amazing to see at least the originals really come back. We've got Legacy Wars, they've got all the different Rangers. They've already proven the multiverse thing in Boom Studios. That has got to happen.
I'm with you. That's awesome. And they kind of mentioned us at the very end, Aquitar, so I kind of like that.
All right, Bo.
Welcome back, Bo.
I think I'd like to see if they had to.
Come closer to the mic, so people can.
If they stopped with Cosmic Fury, I think what I'd like to see if they did try to continue is maybe do kind of like a soft reboot, kind of like what the movie tried to do, or the Boom Studios. I'd like to see maybe like a adaptation of Boom Studios, and then try to get more of like more in depth and I guess edgier tone, more for like the older crowds. Of course, we have Boom Studios, so those are great as well on their own.
Well, going with that, how many of you would prefer an edgier tone to it? And how many, okay, cool. And how many of you enjoy a little softer side to it?
Definitely enjoying the softer side. I like.
See, that's the problem. You can't please everyone with those things, and it's a tough. That's a really tough edge to go down.
Okay, here's one to just throw out there. Who was your favorite villain of all time? Zed?
Lord Zed? Great question.
I loved Hydro Hog.
Yeah. Brat Boy was my favorite, only because Paul Schreier played him. He was the voice of Brat Boy, and he was the director of that episode. So Bulk, the guy who played Bulk, he's awesome.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. So I would like to see a backstory of Rita Repulsa and Day and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a prequel, how they became who they were, kind of things, who they were before they became Rita Repulsa and edgy. So then it's kind of like a dark vibe. I don't think there's anything soft about those characters at all. So that was kind of
Awesome.
right there.
Interesting. Yeah,
That's a cool idea. That's a great idea.
I see we got some more people lining up.
I would love to see an Ivan Ooze prequel, because the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, it's like all this talk about him being this very powerful person, and we see little to nothing of it in the actual movie because he just uses goons or takes over into a giant Zord. We never get to see his actual powers.
you make a great point.
Great idea.
How's it going, sir? What's your name?
Michael?
Who else is named Michael out there? Anyone? We've got four in the room tonight.
So, I would like to see a prequel to the Power Rangers series altogether. They talk about the Morphin Masters and how Zordon used to be a different person before he was encased. Something to go back to before Power Rangers was even created and go, okay, this is the backstory. Because we're finding the backstory out in a little bit in theory, but I don't really go into too much detail.
Thank you for sharing.
I love these backstory things. That's
I got a
great.
question I want to ask, actually. Go ahead.
Oh, I just got a quick one. Like to see more of the Aquitar Rangers?
Thank you so much. I would as well.
Another, an answer to someone else's question, maybe the different dimensions and stuff, maybe young Tommy keeps going.
Ooh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Come on. It sounds like you guys could write it.
So here's the question I want to ask, okay? So as everyone in here who's a Power Ranger fan knows, 2017 we had a live action reboot, and that had mixed reception. So first off, I want to ask, how many people were a fan of that? Okay. And how many people would say that they weren't particularly a fan of it, or maybe it was mid? Yeah? Okay. So in regards to the question about darker tones and having that little bit of softness added to it, which that movie in some places succeeded with, how would you like to see it set into a similar theme like that? Maybe the monsters revamped and the Power Rangers modernized. Does anybody want to give their thoughts on what the movie was for them? Come up to the mic.
Yeah, I just want to say that the movie definitely made some choices, but I think that outreach tool and good work, because we got that, they're talking about an actual another theatrical Power Rangers movie coming out soon, yeah.
It's in the works. It's not really released or like much information, but it's in the works.
Yeah.
So we are coming up to the last minute of our panel, so we'll allow one more question, and then I'll let you two gentlemen give your closing remarks. So counting down from the next 120 seconds, let's go.
Okay, I was going to give my thoughts on the movie.
Go for it.
So again, I mean, it was good execution, but not poor execution, good ideas. In my opinion.
I agree, and I see you have Rita's staff.
I do. Yeah, it's one of the ones that was actually made for the. I got it from a prop officer. I mainly got it for the Green Voice, Green Ranger type thing, you know. But yeah, we had that fight scene in the beginning. We just showed like the end, all the Rangers are dead. We had seen that fight, Rita in the Green Ranger suit, fighting the Rangers. Then maybe had a morph scene where they fought somewhere in the middle, you know. And then the Zord scene as a climax. I guarantee you people would have liked it better.
I definitely agree with you on that.
And maybe, you know, we could have that, like, you know, we have 100 versions of Batman. You know, why can't we have like the kid Power Rangers, grown-up Power Rangers, different things for different groups? That's my thoughts.
Thank you so much.
Good idea.
So we're on our last minute here. Mr. Palmer and Mr. Gotto, any closing remarks?
Thank you all for coming out today. This is awesome. It warms our hearts every single time we get to see you guys and get to a little bit of history from you. And we learn so much from your thoughts of Power Rangers. That's the coolest part of this. Our minds keep growing because you keep giving us more information. So thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Well, apart from last night, I'd like to thank you all, you as the host and you as my guest mate, for being with me as I experienced my first official convention panel. So thank you.
And thank you. You're a great host. That's what made you so nice.
Would you believe that I have stage fright? Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you so much for supporting JDF at this event and Fayetteville Comic-Con, of course. We're going to have another panel coming up next, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much. Give yourselves a round of applause.
One more time, give it up for K.R.A.Z. for this awesome panel, y'all. Give it up one more time. All right.